TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Sean Patrick Murtagh, and I think I remember how to do this. I think it's been a minute, and the last two episodes, well, actually, all right, I am nothing if not transparent on here. I'm going to repeat some things because actually last week's episode, when you're hearing this, is being recorded after this. So when I say the last two episodes, I don't mean last week. I mean, the last two montage shows I did because I just needed space. I just needed time. So I'm going to repeat things. I'm going to apologize for that. I don't mind going down memory lane like a good episode of Golden Girls and revisiting, past guests and sharing their stories, especially as we're getting new listeners. I don't mind that. But in putting it together, it was, as you can tell, and if you watched well, actually, you didn't watch anything on YouTube because I haven't uploaded them yet. That's how crazy this transition out of restaurants has been for me. I have not uploaded the last 5 episodes to YouTube, and YouTube is something that might actually pay one day. So I should probably get on that, right? Like everything's going back to YouTube. So we'll get on that, and you're gonna hear this. I'm repeating things that I said in last week's episode because I haven't recorded it yet, but it's on the top of my mind and my ADHD medicine is slowly kicking in. So it's gonna, and I'm just neurotic and apologetic and all that. So I'm sorry. I won't apologize again until I do, right? And just really unpacking all of the, which we'll talk about in last week's, or we did talk about in last week's episode, this transition that I worked for so hard and then I got it and it was like, oh, this is a completely different lifestyle. And there's been so many things. I've been taking notes. My notepad in my phone is just completely full of openers that I didn't get to in the last few episodes in introducing the montage clips. It was literally minutes before the show's posted, I recorded the opener and the in-betweens to glue the episodes together. So I didn't really get to put all that much in it. And I'm sorry. I'm glad you're still here. The numbers seem to be doing good. So we're going to just say you forgive me, or maybe it was actually entertaining. I'm being too hard on myself. Either way, it is what it is. And we're back. Now, one thing, it's been a while since I've been in Iowa. I've been back for multiple weeks, but we still got some things to unpack. And I don't know if I brought this up. I don't think I did in the last 2 montage shows. But I want to talk about the curious case of the underpoured Manhattans. All right. Like Iowa, the hospitality there was phenomenal, except for one place where the bartender could care less. Now, granted, it was a game day. I got out of the rehearsals I was sitting in on, like after people had let out. So I can't blame her. I can't blame her for not giving a shit. Uh, but it's weird. It's weird. It feels like one of those progressive commercials, like progressive can't keep you from becoming your parents. But like I'm becoming that in what I hate about people that have worked in hospitality is I just have to consistently fight the urge to be like, oh yeah, I was a bartender. Oh yeah, I did it for 20 years. Oh yeah, don't worry, I got you. And just be a good, patron, not have to announce that I did this, not have to like, be like, oh, that's a short pour. But like the pours in Iowa were like exactly 3 inches. Not 3 inches. Oh, that's a shame. That would be upsetting too. 3 ounces. Exactly a perfect 3 ounces, which is a martini, which is a Manhattan, because a Manhattan is basically a martini with bourbon, right? They're all the drinks. We've talked about this. We'll talk about it more. I'll bring it up again. You really need to know how to make 5 basic drinks, and then you sub things out, and it's a totally different drink. So when you have a perfect 3-ounce pour, that tells me you either underpoured it before you put it on ice, or you didn't let it sit on the ice long enough to dilute to get to the volume. Either way, and also, I ordered these Manhattans, and every time I ordered these Manhattans, dirty martinis would come out. And those dirty martinis were to the brim of those martini glasses, and my Manhattans were like halfway poured in the glass. And I get it. I get it. Everyone wants these giant glasses, and it's like, I don't want a Nick and Nora, which is a perfect 3 ounce glass, but I want my Manhattan to be, comparable to the martini that I saw go out. And every place was just consistently underpoured, which means that it didn't sit on the ice long enough, or they underpoured before they put it on the ice. And this bartender that wasn't, I'm sorry, I'm calling her out. And I get there's a lot of ways to do things, and I actually don't mind a shaken Manhattan. I know you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to shake anything that doesn't have citrus. If it's all spirit, it's stirred, right? That's the golden rule, but we break rules, right? With dirty martinis and martinis, we shake the shit out of those. I actually prefer a shaken martini. I don't prefer a shaken Manhattan, but I'm not mad at it. But it was just all these like questions that just kind of seem silly, like, oh, do you want that up or on the rocks? And I don't blame her or any bartender for asking me if I want my Manhattan up or on the rocks. I blame straight men, because straight men can't have anything on a stem. They can't have these girly glasses. And it's like, you know what, dude? You know what? You're ruining it for the rest of us, because we have to ask these unnecessary questions because you can't handle a martini glass. Like, chill out, Chad. All right, just chill the fuck out. But what is the point of this? I don't know. The underpouring thing. So it's like that. And then she's like, do you want it shaken or stirred? And I'm like, stirred and up and full. And it just came out like not cold, not full. And it's just that urge to be like, you can't say anything. You can't say anything because you're an asshole. And I've dealt with people like, so I always give a little extra, right? But I understand some places. Like, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings after that because it's like, she didn't even ask me if I want another drink. She just closed me out. And I was like, am I giving asshole vibes here? Am I like, what? You're the one that underpoured the drink, and I drank it happily and like said nothing. I like just sat here. So I was like, you know what? Buffalo Wild Wings. They're always solid. So I go to the Buffalo Wild Wings and I pull up and I'm like, I just want some French fries in a Manhattan. Like, I've been teaching all day. I, sat in on these rehearsals for these amazingly talented kids. I just want a Manhattan made well, and I know I can trust Buffalo Wild Wings. But you think like, really, you go to Buffalo Wild? Yes, okay, yes. And I wanted their French fries. And so I pull up to the bar, and I'm told that they don't have sweet vermouth. So they can't make my Manhattan. And I'm like, really? Really? Okay, that's fine. I'm not gonna be that person that asks questions. I'm not gonna be like, oh, so who does your ordering? I'm not gonna be that customer. I'm not in this lifestyle anymore. And I know the bartender just wants to do their job and get out. And this guy was nice. I'm not gonna shade him. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just do a Maker's. And to make, I'll just, everything was so cheap. It was like a $6 for a pour of Makers. And I said, you know what? Just make it a double, right? Make it a double on the rocks, and we'll call that a Manhattan. The drink comes, and it is like a perfect 2 ounce pour with ice in it. And I'm like, huh, do I say something? Do I not say something? And this kid is young. I don't know if he heard me or he's been doing this. He seemed nice. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I actually ordered a double. And he goes, yeah, that's our double. Our standard pour is 1.5 ounces, and our double is 2 ounces. What the? But you know what? It was fine. It was basically $12, which is, I wouldn't be able to pay for a Makers on the Rocks for $12 in LA. It was fine. It was strange. Iowa was a strange place, and I actually can't wait to go back. I will go informed. I will know not to get that, not to order any of that. But it's just, I'm fighting that urge. I am fighting, and I've only been out of the restaurants for a few weeks now, and I'm already just trying to not be an asshole. All right, next part of this little opening. I want to address something with all of you because I have like spoken a lot of shit about the restaurant industry in Los Angeles, and I don't take any of it back. I don't take it back for one single thing I've said. It's weird here. It is not New York. And I know I've romanticized New York. And now that we've kind of fully gotten into what I said I wanted this podcast to be come to was not a live breaking news of what's going on and I just had this horrible shift. I'm not waking up and recording these like just completely crushed and brain fog like, oh, it's so nice to be out of the restaurant and we're looking back. This podcast is no longer my current suffering, but just a walk down memory lane, like so many of my guests who are out of the hospitality industry, have been out of the hospitality industry, and we're just talking shop and we're reflecting, right? And so as I'm coming up with these reflections, it's a little easier, I gotta say, by the way, to do these openers with fresh news, with fresh shifts. So I really have to put a little more effort into kind of going down memory lane and thinking what I want to talk about and what does this podcast look like now that I'm not in it anymore. So I was thinking about how much I have romanticized working in New York, and specifically when I was job hunting in LA when I first got here, when I realized that my first job was a shit show, when I got my second job in LA and I loved it. I loved that place and was making hand over fist money, but the checks were bouncing. So I was like, shit, I got to find another place. And just jumping around, and the hiring was just so bad. And I was like, in New York, and I get my fake New York. In New York, I walk down the street, I get a job in 10 minutes. That wasn't actually the case when I first got there. It took me a while to get there in New York because I had to like establish myself and build myself within the community and build myself within the community of actors to be like, oh, my restaurant's hiring. Like that's actually how didn't really pound the pavement in New York, except when I first got there. And that did not go well for me. I was in the meatpacking district looking for all these restaurants, which I'm so glad that I didn't get any of those because they all closed. The turnover was crazy there. I did end up at Sardi's because my friend worked at Sardi's and was like, you don't want to work there. And I was like, yes, I do. I want to work at the restaurant of Broadway. And she's like, you don't want to work there. She was right. But I do have so many wonderful things that happen at Sardi's. I still love Sardi's. I think we're going to unpack Sardi's in last week's episode. I think, when I record it later and what's going on because they're doing a transition. Anyways, so it wasn't a great experience before I got Sardi's. I, was working at a temp agency and I was like, there's no way I can do this and audition. I didn't have that down. I was, working, I did a theater festival, which didn't pay well, but it was something and it got me involved, whatever. And I'm pounding the pavement and I'm looking and one day, which was like one of my worst days where it was just like rejection after rejection, was walking up and down Ninth Avenue in Hell's Kitchen looking for work. And it's a weird place. I love Hell's Kitchen. I love Hell's Kitchen. Y'all know that was my backyard for the longest time when I was in New York. I love all the restaurants there, but it's an interesting place to look for jobs, right? They want people, they want models, they want a very specific type of gay man in there. And I wasn't that. I was a 26-year-old character actor that looked 40. Just that's the truth, right? And so I had no idea. And every place I went in is these guys in like tight black shirts and like ripped abs and this and that. I was like, oh, this is not it. This is, I'm sorry, but I had to do it just in case. And I pull up to this, I think it was on the corner of 52nd and 9th. Maybe it was 53rd. It's no longer there. I don't remember what it was called. I actually don't remember what it became, but it's no longer there. And I walk into this restaurant and I see this adorable man, very slender, very cute, very adorable, in a cute little outfit, little salt and pepper going on and glasses. And I hand him my resume and I'm just like beaten down. And he couldn't have been nicer. I could definitely tell he was not going to hire me. My experience in San Francisco, I only had 1.5 jobs at that point, and I was brand new to New York. I could tell he wasn't going to hire me. And in the moment, it felt like just all the same rejection. And I just remembered his face because he was adorable. He was adorable. I'm like, one day it was going to be like a Pretty Woman moment. Like, I'm going to get a job here. And it's going to be like, remember me? big mistake. And I wanted to hold this grudge, even though this guy was really nice. And because, Scorpio. And then years later, our paths crossed again. And I was just ready to be like Julia Roberts. Remember me? And I couldn't do it. I couldn't hold a grudge. Now, this is another thing that I've talked about. I was part of a gym cult for many years. I bring that up. My big gay kettlebell swinging disco club gym. This guy was a trainer there. And he is one of my favorite trainers that I've ever had there. And I was like, oh. And again, in retrospect, looking back, I just had this weird grudge from all the restaurants that rejected me when I first got to New York. And I was like, oh, I don't even know if he could hire me. He was so nice. And I look back and I was like, he couldn't have been sweeter. He couldn't have been more wonderful. And it just completely changed my perspective about that day of rejection, was actually getting the chance to meet and work with him at Mark Fisher Fitness, where he is just loved and adored. And maybe I didn't share this story the best way, but it's been a story ever since I started this podcast that I've wanted to share. I've wanted to have him on here. He is a wonderful human being that I couldn't. If a Scorpio can't hold a grudge against a human being who did nothing wrong, then you have to be a wonderful person. He is a phenomenal human being who is originally from Ohio, not Iowa, which I kept saying in Iowa. I'm like, oh, I love it here in Ohio. And they're like, you're not in Ohio, right? So go Buckeyes, I think. I don't know if you're into sports. We'll get that when I bring you on. But he moved to New York in 1998 to pursue his career after attending Indiana University and NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. He has performed in national tours. You have seen him on commercials. He's been featured in Men's Health, Well and Good. He's been on Good Morning America, Live with Kelly and Ryan. He also does Broadway Bears, or he did Broadway Bears for many years, which was phenomenal. What Mark Fisher used to like have a really good handshake with Broadway Bears, and the performers would come train, which was like really nice. Really nice to be in class with all these beautiful Broadway bodies, and Chris being one of them leading the charge, which Broadway Bears is a phenomenal cause. That season is just around the corner. If you have any performing friends in New York and you start seeing Donate to My Broadway Bears Stripathon or whatever the theme is this year, do it. They raise a ridiculous amount of money for multiple charities that for people living with HIV/AIDS, also people dealing with homelessness, people with other there's so many charities beyond the realm of where it started. It's a phenomenal cause, and he was a part of that for many years. It's like, is there any more reason to love this person? There is, and we're going to unpack that, and you're going to understand why I couldn't hold a grudge against this wonderful human being. Please welcome to the show the guy that didn't hire me but taught me how to swing kettlebells, Chris Crowthers.
I'm crying already. Literally, this is happening. I had no idea of that story.
Oh my, you were one. Well, I mean, I literally just when I saw you, I had like the biggest crush immediately. I was like, this guy is so adorable. Like, I want to work here. He's so adorable, blah, 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 all this. And then it just didn't happen. Ninth Avenue crushed my spirits. But then coming back, like, you stuck out for some reason. And it was just like, and then when I got to meet you again at Mark Fisher and really experience the wonderful human being you were, it was just like, I'm so glad our paths crossed. And for whatever reason, that story stuck out to me. Like, you were a memorable human being on a day where I was meeting with tons of restaurants. Like, I was getting but your face stuck out. And perfectly enough, our paths crossed again. For 3 years, I trained with you at Mark Fisher, and you're just phenomenal. Like, I really wanted to share that good news because or just that story, because it stuck with me. And I was like, I can't wait to just sing his praises to him, because I know you've had that effect on so many people. If you had that effect on me, I can only imagine the waiters you've worked with, the bartenders, the managers, the people, actors you've worked with, performed with, the people you've shared the stage with at the Hammerstein Ballroom doing Broadway Bears, the people that you have taught about fitness, because it's not just about, you want a hot body and a Maserati. You're really teaching people skills for life. And the best part of this show is telling people how wonderful they are in a sincere way. And so I just wanted to share that with you and make you part of my opening, this is your life. So
Oh,
yeah,
thank
welcome to the
you.
show.
Thanks so much for having me. What an honor to be here. And I had no idea of that story. I literally still have tears in my eyes.
Dun dun dun. You
Yes,
know,
thank you. Let me just get rid of those really, really quickly.
how are you
Ah,
doing today?
I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing great. I love your background.
Good.
This will definitely, I'm going
Thank
to
you.
post, you guys have to see this on YouTube. Just this beautiful, rustic, westerny type of a background. You're in upstate New York, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
your shop and you and your husband having a wonderful getaway home. And so much to unpack. But so let's
Yeah.
start at the very beginning.
It's a
Um,
very good place to start.
there, I knew I didn't have to do it on my own.
Which is funny because the last time I actually went away to do theater was The Sound of Music,
No way, which theater?
the Gunquit Playhouse.
Oh, oh, look at you working at a Gunquit. That
Yes,
is a hard theater to break into. Look at
it
you,
was
Mr.
great.
Talented. I
I mean,
love
it was a
that.
great summer. I mean, if you're not one of the kids or Maria, it's a pretty like boring show to be in. But listen, I got to spend my entire day at the beach. I was the dance captain, so I would go dressed to the theater as if I were a patron. I would sit in the audience for the first hour of the show and then leave. Sometimes I would have a glass of wine. Don't tell anyone. I'd go backstage, put on my tuxedo, waltz across the stage, and that was Act One.
That that is absolutely amazing. Who was just talking about that? Someone was talking about that. They're in a show, and it literally was like, if you're not these two characters, you have nothing but time off stage. Oh, I think it was somebody who was talking about their time in My Fair Lady, and it was just
Oh,
like easiest job ever if you're not
mhm.
Eliza or I almost said Doolittle Higgins. One of the easiest jobs. I used to like be very offended when I booked stuff that like a musical that did not require me to sing, because I
Mhm.
think of myself still as a singer first, and it's like,
Sure.
are you? It was a judgment. It was just like a judgment against me. Like, why aren't you doing this? And now, like when I submit for things, like I'm actually now being more selective in what I do. But I just submitted for something to where it's like, this is all teenagers and like three adults. I would for equity minimum, like I can do that.
Yes.
I can come on
Yes.
for one scene in an entire musical and collect my equity
Yes.
minimum. That's what I want.
Yes. My
I want the
first
Mama Morton roles.
my first entrance was 1 hour and 17 minutes into the show.
I love that.
And literally that's all I was in Act One. Party scene, waltz across the stage, stay there, good night, and then off we went.
That's like when I did the producers and I was Carmen Gia. It like in second
Mhm.
act, you're on and off all the time, but in the first act, like it was like almost an hour before I went on stage, and I was also just like insufferable because I was younger and just like really trying to be a theater artist, so I would just like be vocalizing the entire time and just applying
Amazing.
makeup for an hour. Like it wasn't a
Amazing.
drag show, but I somehow turned it in. Anyways, we need to get to the first question.
Let's do it.
This Let's do it. What was your gateway job into the world of hospitality and being a stereotypical actor and singer, paying the bills with a job in hospitality?
So I grew up, as you mentioned, in Ohio. I grew up in a town called Hamilton, which is between Cincinnati and Dayton. It's where very close to where Miami University of Ohio is. Not obviously Miami University of Florida, but there is a Miami University of Ohio. Anyways, that was kind of like my backyard. We had a restaurant in town, which was a chain like in Ohio and I think Midwest called Bill Knapp's. So I got a job there when I was like 16 years old. And funny enough, I was just texting with one of my best friends from high school, and she and I worked there. She's like the only person I really keep in touch with from high school. And she and I were just texting this morning, and we used to work there together. So this is very like kind of full circle moment. So that was my first like restaurant job. That was back home. But then when I moved to New York, I was a retail girly for a long time. I did the like Gap, I did the J. Crew, I did the Club Monaco. And then I think I did some sort of like I was thinking about this since we've been exchanging emails. I worked at a restaurant called Urban America, which was on 103rd and Broadway, which for someone
Okay.
who lived in Forest Hills was not the easiest commute you can
No,
imagine. And I
no.
think I got it. I think I had done some like random reading with somebody and like became friends with this woman. And she was like, "Oh, my friends are opening up this restaurant. They're looking for servers." And I was like, "I've never done this before in the city. I clearly need to get some like New York City experience on my resume." So that was my first like experience waiting tables in New York. So I'll say that one.
That's crazy. Just like thinking of that train ride from Forest Hills, which is
Hmm.
far enough out, like you're on the E and the F. So
Hmm.
you have to get to Manhattan, and then you have to, I guess, transfer at Columbus Circle to then go uptown.
I don't even remember how I did it, but it was like either the like E or the F to get yourself into the city. And I think I had to go above ground and change trains because it was off the one train or the, yeah, the one or the nine. Does the nine still exist? I don't even know. This is how long ago it was.
I
The
live,
red,
okay,
the red train.
I literally have in my notes to talk about all, because almost 30 years in New York, that's fucking crazy. But we'll
Mhm.
talk about all the changes. But I literally made a note about the night train
Yeah,
and all the
yeah.
different trains. Like, that's absolutely nuts. Like, the furthest I went for a restaurant, I lived in Washington Heights, and the furthest I went was the East Village twice. And I
Mm,
fucking hated that commute. I hated
yeah.
that commute, and I refused to transfer trains
Mm,
because it was just like I'm not going to wait to take like the L, which the L was not reliable back then. I don't know
mhm,
how it is
mhm.
now. But I was like, I'm not going to just do all these transfers. I'm going to walk. And so like in humidity, in snow, I would walk from Third Avenue, like Third and 11th, because that's where the Smith is. Or then when I was working at Vic's, like in on Bond Street near the Public, I would walk across town to the West Fourth station, which is
Mm.
it doesn't seem like it's that far, but like
It's
in
far, girl.
weather, in weather, it's
Yeah.
far. It's far, and especially when you're closing a bar like the Smith, we wouldn't get out till 3, and the place like
Yeah.
closed at, like at 11:30 or midnight. Like no, I think it stayed open later on weekends, which is why. And it's like it was just ridiculous, and the fact that you made it from Forest Hills to then have to transfer to go to the Upper West Side, like
Mhm.
kudos to you, which also
I
helps
mean,
us get.
we would like often brown paper bag it on our way home. Not gonna lie, like we would like do a sippy cup or like a beer and put it in because there was another woman that was a friend of mine that I got hired there as well, and she lived in Jackson Heights, so like a little closer in, but like the next kind of big hub into the city. So she and I would like fully like brown paper bag it or like make ourselves like it looks like iced tea, but it's not, and just like sip that on our ride home.
Oh yeah, I've had managers that have had iced teas on shift,
Yeah.
in little plastic cups that looks like Diet Coke or iced tea, which is interesting that like not everybody knows that. Like just put things in a coffee cup. Like for
Oh my God.
my aunt's 60th
Yes.
birthday, I sent her like a little care package, and I gave her like a traveler mug, and it said like 60 or whatever, something stupid like that. And I was like, so that way when you go to the beach with her friend Kelly, you can like, have your coffee, but guys can also like have wine and just go walk up and down the beach of Pacifica. And she's like,
Mhm.
oh, what do you mean? Like I can have wine? And I was like, you put it in a cup. Nobody has to know what's in there. Nobody
No.
has to know. And I was like 60 years old. And I'm like, I didn't have to give her a care package. The gift was that information. Like she lived her whole
Yes.
life without doing that. I love that you did that. So I'm
It's what we
sure
call
that
it's what we call a road soda.
a road, I've never heard that. And I love it. Now, I'm sure worse than the transition, worse than, that commute to your restaurant, there may have been a few tough shifts in your tenure and all that you've done in restaurants. But I just want to
Yes.
know, is there a tough shift that stands out above the rest that you'd like to share here today? Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast everywhere. literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF Shift podcast.com. All right, back to the show.
There are two that rise to the surface, and they are both very different. And one of them was like a turning point. So I don't know if you want both or if you just want the turning point one. I'm happy
Let's
to
do it.
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Great. So I don't mind mentioning the names of places because I have nothing to say nice about the places I've worked. I feel very fortunate that I've worked in places that were always very kind to me. The first one being I was part of the original Broadway cast of the bar Therapy that was on 52nd between 8th and 9th. I was one of them.
I
was
love
part of the
Therapy.
Opening crew. Yes. So I was a cocktail waiter there. So I was out like in the throes. I did not have like the protection of the bar to like shield me from the Midtown gaze and myself. I was like out in the elements. So there was a night where, and if you've ever been there, there's upstairs there. It's been remodeled now, and I don't even know what it's called now because it's not that anymore. But there was like a stage where there were performances certain nights of the week, and there was a fireplace. This was a weekend night, which didn't usually have a performance. Those performances were like usually during the week. And there was a group of people sitting on the stage because it was busy. And I came through with my like tray of cocktails, and it was like a tray of cocktails. It was like every shape, size, glass, shaker, because of course we poured at the table or whatever, if it was served in a martini glass, like the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, I must have had at least 16 pieces of something on this tray. So I walk up to the tray and I like daintily like squat down, and this guy like goes to grab a beer, and I was like, please don't touch anything on this tray. Please do not touch anything on this tray. I was like, I know exactly where to like move the weight within my fingers. He did not listen. He grabbed his pint of beer, and the entire tray landed on his lap. And I was like, what did I just tell you, sir? What did I just tell you? So I was like, I'll be right back. So then I had to like put the order back in again, go back, make my way, trudge my way through with this full tray again. And I was like, your beer's on me. And he was like, well, the whole time.
No, it's on me.
Yeah. I like thought about making that joke, but then I was like, that might be too soon. And he was like so insistent that like the entire check should be taken care of. And I was like, sir, I really asked you not to touch it, and you did not listen to anything I said. I was like, I'm happy to comp your beer. And he was like, well, we should be drinking for free until my pants are dry. And I was like, then sir, you should sit a little bit closer to that fireplace. And I just turned around and walked away.
Till my pants are dry. It is incredible how self-righteous customers can be, and like just so right about being wrong in situations like that. Like news, and do not ever take anything off the trays. I've had to explain that to other servers. I'm like, you can help me by not helping me. Like exactly like you said, like
yes.
I know where the weight is distributed, and I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. I've been in therapy, the bar and the sessions. I've been in therapy. That place is wild and gets packed. And like, if you're upstairs, just so people like, I don't know if I can even paint a picture, but like the bar is on like the furthest wall. There's some seating, and then there's a giant staircase railing to like protect you from falling down the staircase. So there's like it bottlenecks, and you have this thin pass, and then it's this open area that's just full of tables and demon twinks all over. Just like, I can't imagine that you worked your way through that with that tray. I hate carrying trays in a regular restaurant. Which is one thing that I didn't realize I would be glad to never have to do again. Because like it's the balance. I'm not sure if it's just my age or whatever, but like, I'm like, it's not as easy. And like glassware is more fragile. And every place I work has a cocktail in a wine glass. I'm like, y'all realize this wine glass was not meant to hold that much ice and the weight. And so They're
Hmm.
wobbly, no trays anymore, have grip. Anyways, I feel like a
Yes.
dinosaur. But the other thing about therapy, before we get to your other story, is what I always found wild. I There were a few nights in New York, and a couple at therapy where I got home and I woke up the next day and I was like, how did I how did I make it down that not I don't even care about the subway. How did I make it down the staircase? There is a giant staircase connecting the upstairs and the downstairs that is nothing but a trip hazard. It is so wide. Obviously it has railings on each side, but it is so wide and so big because it's basically like a regular landing would have, it'd be like a few steps, a landing, turn around. This was just the entire staircase in one go to get to the second floor. Like, do you have any stories of people biffing it? Because I don't know how I got down there. I don't know how I lived.
There were definitely times because they were also wood and there wasn't really any traction on them. So, like, as the night goes on and like things just get wet, it's a bar, right? So, like, things get spilled or there's sweat from things or whatever. So, there were definitely people that slipped. I don't know that I ever experienced anyone going like all the way down.
Oh, that's a
But
shame.
another story. So to your point, so the bar was at one side, the like seating was in the other. There was this like giant opening with the pass through was maybe 4 or 5 feet at most. This was like a very quiet happy hour. This is just another quick story, then we can move on. This was a very like quiet happy hour. It was like 5:30 at most. There was like barely anyone there yet. The like after work crowd had not arrived yet. And I'm walking through the pass and some gay was doing what I refer to as the flamingo, which is standing against the wall with one leg up like a
Hmm.
flamingo. And just as I walked by, he threw his gay hands in the air, hit my tray, and the martini shaker ended up downstairs and outside on 52nd Street because it was a nice day and the door was open. They found the cap of it literally on 52nd Street. Like someone could have been seriously injured. There was like a shaker and at least a
Ice.
glass, yeah, and ice and all of that that went from like the top down, hit, and then rocketed that martini lid shaker literally out the front door onto 52nd Street. I had
I'm
to
gonna.
like it. It really like shook me up. I was like, I could have really injured. I mean, I didn't do it. It was the gay flamingo who threw his arms in the air as I walked
Yeah,
by. But I like, yeah, it like shook me up. I had to like take a moment in the back and be like, before I could
I
like return to the
assume
floor.
I assume like that guy had to be a dancer, and bear this is gonna be really shady. But in my time in New York and all the auditions I went to, I was always struck by the lack of spatial awareness, specifically that dancers had in pro
Mhm.
studios, in bars, in whatever, to where it's like your job is literally spatial. My job is to count
Yes.
for music. My job is to sing a
Hmm.
high C. Like that's my job, right?
Hmm.
I gotta do that. You literally spatial awareness and like the lack thereof, it just boggles my mind that it runs rampant in the dancing community. So in my head, again, that little demon twink with the flamingo and this, like the world is his dance call, like that is wild.
It was the opposite of Demon Twink. So go to the far end of the other end of the
Oh,
spectrum. And that,
burly bear.
yes, yes,
Dancing bear. I love that. We
yes,
love bears and
yes,
tutus.
yes.
So I want to, I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump around a little bit.
That's okay.
Because you worked in the neighborhood, because I already
Hmm.
knew you worked in Hell's Kitchen. I didn't know you worked at therapy, which is
I
like
did.
crazy. And not that I have any spicy stories from therapy that would, you have to go behind a paywall. But like, what were some of the, because therapy, like, again, and I'm sorry for people listening who like things PG. Therapy used to have like on Saturday nights and Friday nights a bouncer in the bathroom
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
keep the line moving. What are some of the wildest things you feel comfortable sharing that you may have witnessed, or like the job hazards? I'm like, I'm just trying to work here, guys. Like feral gaze in the wild.
That was more of it for me, where I was like, and it's funny because a guy that I worked with, actually has a house up here near us, like 15 minutes. He and his husband just bought a house last summer. So we like share, and we were very much on the same page with like our sort of approach to working at therapy. My approach was, I'm just here to make some money. I'm not here to like go home with anybody. I'm not here to kiss boys. I'm not here to like find my next lover. Lover? Why did I say that? Boyfriend. I'm not here to like do any of that. I'm literally here to like work my shift, walk out of here with a wad of cash, and be done.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like, not inappropriate, but like there were times where people would get a little handsy,
Yeah.
or if they needed something, they would like put their hand on my butt, or, and this was like the, I want to say it was like the early aughts. I'm thinking like 2004-ish is what I'm thinking, timeline, 2003 maybe. And like, fashion was very different then, and I wore clothes much different than I wear them now. Like I would take my therapy t-shirt and like crop it. I would wear the lowest jeans you've ever seen in your entire life. I think I had a pair of button jeans that only had the top button and one other button. So like my bony ass hip bones, because I was like, much thinner than I am now, and my like bony ass hip bones, the like happy trail was like in full force,
Yeah.
and like, so part of me was like, am I bringing this on to myself? But it wasn't like, I wasn't wearing like a crop top. It was just like a little bit of belly and like a low jean. And they were like basically leggings because they were so tight. So it was more of just like people wanting to get like a little handsy. And I would be like, that's not, they're like, sit on my lap or whatever. And like, I had friends that would come in. So like I would, and I, as a server, I was luckily always somewhere that I worked places that was like super casual. Like I could wear like sneakers and jeans. So I had like no problem sitting down at a table with people. If I was like, what's your order? Let's just like be friends here.
Yeah.
But like some people would take it like a little bit too far. And that's where I
Yeah.
was just like, this, I don't like this.
And especially like in a gay neighborhood and being the aesthetic that you are in the community, like that sounds like the standard uniform
Yes.
for working in a
Yes.
place like that, for making your money. Like I've,
Yeah.
had other guests on here where I just talk about things like this, where it's like the way I dress is not consent. And the way that I do, like,
Mm-hmm.
I did not experience that much, and I think there's multiple reasons for that, because I'm a broad guy and people whatever. But when I did Snatched, um it happened to me a lot. That, like,
Mm-hmm.
those 3 years, it
Sure.
was crazy. Like I've talked about it on
Mm-hmm.
here before, where I was taking an order and I was like, what's on me? Like I feel something on my leg, and it was the guy that I was taking his friend's order, and the guy that was just sitting there was rubbing my leg, and I honestly didn't, in the moment, I didn't know whether to be mad. Or he was a handsome guy. He looked, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
is this appropriate? Like I didn't know how to deal with
Yeah.
that. And it's one of the things you just have to deal with working. And that was in Chelsea. So it's like,
Sure.
just leads to inappropriateness all over. Other gay things that happen in restaurants. Let's talk about brunch, the battlefield that is brunch.
Yeah, so I have always said that when I um, am in a position to make rules for the entire country, that everyone should have to work brunch. Everyone should have to work at a restaurant for at least a year,
Yeah.
and you have to do brunch for at least 6 of those months. Um, so brunch. So I worked for the restaurant group was called Chow Down. They owned Therapy, they owned Vinyl, they owned El Centro. They recently just closed up shop, but they
Rita's, I
were
know, my favorite place.
Rita's. I was lucky enough to work for them basically since I started working at Therapy until I stopped working in restaurants in 2012. Like they were so kind to me. I would leave to go away and do a gig. I would call 2 weeks before the gig was over and be like, hey, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. They're like, great, go work here. And they just kind of moved me around because I
Love
knew
that.
the entire system. At that point, there were like several different vinyl locations. So they would just kind of be like, hey, the vinyl on the Upper East Side needs somebody. So I would go work there. And then I'd go away and do a gig and then come back and they'd be like, the one in Chelsea needs somebody. So like I kind of like feel very lucky because I know a lot of people like had to like pound the pavement when they'd come back from doing a theater gig or something. And I feel very, very, very fortunate that I did not have to do that.
Yeah.
I literally would just like call them and be like, I'm back. And they're like, great, go here. And I was like, fantastic. And like,
And that speaks
it
to
was,
you, and like how valuable you are to them, how nice you are to work with. Like you were an asset to them. So I'm sure they
yes,
were more than happy to have you back.
yes. So most of my brunching was at Vinyl. Um, and brunch is just a lot. There's a lot of Am I allowed to cuss?
Yo, you can say whatever the fuck you want. Yeah.
And I said cuss, but cuss and lover, two words I've
Cuss
never
and
said.
lover.
Cuss and lover. There's just a lot of fucking accessories for brunch.
Yeah.
Like if you think about like coffee alone, right? Coffee, you're getting creamer and then or whatever milk alternative you're drinking, and then whatever sweetener if you're someone that takes that. Then you need a spoon, you need the mug, you need the saucer, you need all the things, right? Then when it comes to like the food, like if you're a ketchup on eggs person, if you need mayonnaise for your french fries, if you need syrup, if you need butter, if you need there's just so many fucking parts to brunch
It's
that
the Wild West of
it's
modifications too. Like it's like just order off the
thousand
goddamn
percent.
menu.
Yes. How do you want your eggs? How do you want, what do you want in your omelet? There's just so many questions.
Yeah.
What kind of toast do you want? What kind of jam? It's just a lot. It's just a lot. So, and you're so sticky by the end of your shift. So
Yeah.
sticky between like syrup, mimosas, juices, like I feel like that fly paper, where you're like hanging up and the
Oh
flies
yeah.
like stick. Like that's what I would feel like when I was done. Um, the benefit is that you're done early,
And you can go to Rita's
but
and get a margarita.
correct. But you also like truly see the like worst of humanity, I think, in the world of service. And I think,
100%. And you don't make as much money as
you're
dinner service. You're working twice as
no,
long and twice as
yes,
hard for lower priced items. You're turning more often. You're not walking with as much cash. And it's just like, oh my God, it is like in therapy, like there's not the bar. They talk about, I listen to Mel Robbins all the time. She's not my therapist. I do have a therapist. But when she
I
has
mean,
her
God, if
guests
she
on and
was, imagine.
right? That would be amazing. They talk about the unhealed child or the inner child, and I think brunch and specifically like breakfast options bring out people's like people are not this weird at any other service. But when it's breakfast food, it's just like my yolk is runny or this is touchy and it's like who hurt
Mhm.
you? Like what is your trauma around eggs? What is your trauma around
Yes,
eggs? Like let's unpack that. Like yes.
yes. So that was like never my favorite, and luckily was able to like get myself as I like climbed the like ladder. I was able to get myself off of those. um but you would come, I'd go away and do a gig and come back and they'd be like, no, you're not going to be the Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night bartender anymore because you had to give up those shifts to go do the Sound of Music in Maine. So now you're going to have like a Wednesday lunch, a Saturday brunch, and a Monday night dinner. And I was like, awesome.
Sounds
um
great.
yeah, no, brunch was just, and like you get people that also just sit. So, like, yes, some tables are flipping faster, but some are just like sitting there and like nursing their mimosa and their Bloody Mary or their like table pancake or their table French toast or whatever the thing may
Free
be.
refills on
And they're
coffee. It's
just,
like,
yes. So,
that's
like, they
too
would
much
just
coffee for one
sit.
human being. Yeah.
Correct. I remember specifically at the Vinyl that was in Chelsea, may she rest in peace, it was on 15th and 8th. That's where I spent the last years of my like restaurant life. And there were people that would come in, and I loved these people so much. They would come in like right when we would open for brunch. They would bring their newspaper. They would sit there. They would like have their coffee. They'd get the same thing or like same few things every week. And like I felt like it was literally working at a diner, and like you knew
Yeah.
them because they lived in the neighborhood. They would bring their newspaper. They were like, do you want the paper when you're done? Like they were just like your friendly people. So those people I loved. But then like once you hit the like noon
One
30,
o'clock.
1 o'clock, it is just everything's off the table, and you just have to like focus, take deep breaths,
People, yeah,
fill your coffee mug up with whatever you wanted to. I've done
and
it.
get through because
And get through.
when the gays descend, and not to make hashtag not all gays, but when the gays descend into Chelsea or any brunch spot at 1 o'clock, and they smell like last night's poppers, they still have the stamp from the club from last night. Like it is just like a hangover and regret. Like they're wild. We had a pregnant manager when I worked at Cook Shop, and there was just like this table, and it was like in that 1 o'clock hour, and they were just awful. They were like They made the waitress cry. They did, and like the manager like took advantage of the fact that she was pregnant to like
Mhm.
calm tables down. She just go like, "I'm so sorry," and she just like rub her belly, and she'd be like, "I'm so sorry. Is everything okay here?" Da da da. And it worked all the time.
Of
These
course.
these guys, these like muscle daddies, because they were not demon twinks, because it's not always demon twinks. These muscle daddies were so atrocious that they didn't work on them, and they said something around like, why don't you just go birth your baby? And I was like, oh my, the 1 o'clock crowd is wild, wild. I am so glad to not have to
Yes.
deal with that nonsense. Now, do you, on the flip side,
Mhm.
do you enjoy brunch, or are you still
I
kind of
have
like, I don't
not
need that?
I have not been to brunch in quite some time. And part of it
Yeah,
is just because of like my sort of life schedule. So I don't actually remember the last time I went to brunch, to be
yeah,
honest. I mean, it was probably when I was like away, like visiting somewhere, and it was like you met up with friends or whatever. Like I was in LA a few weeks ago, and I think maybe we did a brunch or something. But like, it's not something I do on the regular here. I mean, we're usually upstate, and I'm sure we'll get to this later, but my husband and I own a shop up here. So like one of us is always at the shop on the weekends, or on Saturday or Sunday, we take turns because it's just us. So brunch is not really an option unless we go with like somebody else. But it's been a while since I've been to brunch. I will say though, the ones I found the demographic that I found the most challenging were the Upper East Side people, specifically those with children.
oh
Like
yeah,
I
and
don't want
even the
to
Upper West Side children.
do not leave your diaper at the table. The sugar packets are not a toy, and they should not rip them all up and sprinkle the sugar all over the table. There's
Nope.
the sweet and lows and the Splendas and all that, and then just walk out the door and be like, sorry. And I'm
And
like,
I don't care
are
that your
you?
stroller needs to. I don't care about your stroller. Put it outside. It's
Yes.
it's
That
literally
was the
in the
group that
way.
that was the group that I like when it came to like the gays, I like can easily turn on like dry, sarcastic, sassy version
Yeah,
of myself and like go over top my glasses, which was like I was known for at therapy for like literally shooting people down by like doing this.
I love that.
Um, so I would just be able to like play that a little bit and they'd be like, you're so funny. And I was like, I am. And then just like be on with my day. But it was like the it was like that Upper East Side like mommy group, and I hate to like
Hmm.
stereotype, but I will.
Yeah.
That was the demographic that I, and it's funny because I feel like now those are women that I feel like I would actually relate to the most, and I would not do well with like the like super gay crowd. Like that's not the crowd that I feel like I would like jive with the most. I feel like now as I've gotten older, I am a like 40s to like I'm like pre in the middle and postmenopausal woman is like my demographic where I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
yes, we are
Yes.
friends. In
Open a
fact, like a lot of
window
the people,
and let's get rosé. Like it's hot
yes.
in here.
And like a lot of the women that I train now are like in that demographic. And I'm like, we are best friends. Like I've never seen you in person because I only see you on my computer screen, but like I love you and we need to be best friends.
Yeah.
That's like more of my demographic. Not that they're necessarily like the Upper East Side crowd, but like to your point, it's not just the location. It could have been the Upper West Side. They're all it's everywhere. It's
Now, how
everywhere.
did you make the transition from restaurants to fitness? And on that note, let's take a break. Clearly, we are having too much fun and we have so much more to unpack. So let's just put a bookmark in that and we'll pick up next week. Thank you so much for listening. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.